What's up, you guys? It's Steve here, and I've got some video footage that you're going to want to watch, as right now Democrats are debating over the next stimulus package, the largest we have seen so far at $3.5 trillion. This is your stimulus check update and your stimulus package update. Now, if you want to see the extreme polar opposite ends of what's going on in the Democratic Party, you're going to want to look no further than Senator Joe Manchin, that conservative, moderate Democrat who's saying less spending, less debt. I'm concerned about inflation. And then on the other end, you have progressive Democrats, and you have Senator Bernie Sanders, who's saying $3.5 trillion is already a compromise. We should have been up at $6 trillion, $10 trillion. We should be giving out monthly stimulus checks, providing more and more provisions and giving out assistance to people. And he literally said, take a look at this, we are not going to build bridges just so our people can live under them. No infrastructure bill without a $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. Saying, you guys, infrastructure for roads, bridges, and highways, that's great. But we are not going to build bridges just for people to live under them. We also need to give people money. Human infrastructure, he says, should be the priority. But on the other end, as I mentioned, we've got Senator Joe Manchin saying, no, right now, we need roads, bridges, highways. We have bipartisan agreement, Republicans and Democrats, that we need this, and we need to hit the pause button on human infrastructure because we don't know what's going to be happening next. And he is asked, what about a timeline? What about an amount? What should we be going for if we're going to do human infrastructure? Well, you guys, I'm going to be sharing with you the video footage so you can see it for yourself. We're going to be hearing 5 minutes from Senator Joe Manchin and then 5 minutes from Bernie Sanders. And we're going to be hearing both of their stances on this, and you'll get to hear it and see it. And let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on this. Now, also, as I mentioned, if you didn't see my previous video, today, President Joe Biden is going to be meeting with Senator Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema to convince them to get on board for the next stimulus package. Now, if you didn't see that right after this video, be sure to check that one out, as we're going to be hearing today what's going to be coming of that, you guys. But I've got a lot of video footage for you. We're going to be seeing this debate between Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin, and you're going to hear Bernie Sanders say this is not Joe Manchin versus Bernie Sanders, but you will get to hear their stances, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So let's go ahead and dive right in. But before we do, if you could do me a quick favor, just takes a second. Don't forget, smash the like button if you appreciate these updates. Keep me up to date on all this stuff. It just lets the YouTube algorithm know that you think I'm doing a good job, and they'll continue to promote my channel and my videos. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Also, like I said, leave your comments, share this out. This is your first time here. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, come join the Ram fam. I'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on so you're in the know of what's happening. And if you got any specific questions for me, be sure to shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3, which is by far the best way to get a hold of me directly if you got any specific questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. And yes, I go through all the DMs. I get a lot of them, so it might take me a while, but I'll go through and I'll try my best to help you out, you guys. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into the latest on the battle for stimulus in the Democratic Party for $3.5 trillion.
Let's talk about its impact on the president's agenda. We're joined by West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. Senator Manchin, thanks for joining us this morning. You know, you've called for a strategic pause on the president's Build Back Better plan, the $3.5 trillion plan. But party leaders, from the president to Speaker Pelosi to Leader Schumer, have all rejected that call for a pause. Schumer says it's full speed ahead in the Senate. It can't pass the Senate without your vote. So where do things stand right now?
Well, George, I've been very clear, I think, and I think a strategic pause is necessary right now. We have the unknown, and the unknown is everything you've been talking about. COVID, what's going to happen with COVID, what it'll do to the economy. No one's talking about inflation or debt, and we should have that as part of the discussion. And then the geopolitical, what's going on around the world and what type of challenges we may face. So the unknown is there, and we don't know what that's going to partake. What we do know is that basically the need for this, the emergency to do something in the next week is not there. We've done $5.4 trillion, George, over the last year and about a year and a half. $5.4 trillion. A lot of that money is still going out the door. There's no one going to be left behind for the rest of this year and most of next year. So the urgency, I can't understand why we can't take time, deliberate on this, and work.
Back in January, you proposed spending $4 trillion on infrastructure. So what changed?
Well, you're talking about that was about $4.5 trillion they had talking about. Is that what you're talking about? What the
you were saying we've spent about five.
having both of those put together. And I said from day one, these are two complete different categories. The one we have in front of us right now that's already passed in a bipartisan way with 19 Republicans, George, is the hardcore infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, internet, water, sewer, all the things that have been neglected for the last 30 years. The president went out and campaigned on this. He went out and sold this thing. We all got behind him. We got a bipartisan deal. And I think it's the greatest thing that we could do. That's the one that has the urgent and emergency that we have. Let's get that one done. It's sitting over in the House right now.
But if the bill is fully paid for and doesn't add to the deficit, the unknown that you're concerned about, one of them is inflation. That's not really a concern, is it, if the bill is fully paid for?
Well, George, basically, if the bill is fully paid for, why did they put $1.7 trillion of borrowing power in the language? And next of all, it's only run out for 10 years, okay? So if some of the things we know will never go off, so you should be more accurate to what the real number is going to be. I'm just saying right now, George, we're at $28.750 billion, $28,750,000,000, and it goes up $4 to $5 billion every day. No one's even talking. Inflation. People are talking to me in West Virginia about the price of gas, the price of everything they buy, including their groceries, how it's affecting them. So I think we need to see what we're doing right now and the effects we're having. No one is saying they're losing their benefits because they're going to extend up through next year. Why are we rushing it for this 1 week? Why do we have to have everything done in 1 week?
You mentioned the bipartisan infrastructure bill that has the support of Republican senators, but it's also drawn the opposition of progressives who don't think it should happen unless there's also progress on the bigger reconciliation bill. Here's a tweet last night from Senator Bernie Sanders, who's coming up on the program next. We're not going to build bridges just so our people can live under them. No infrastructure bill without the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. Are you concerned we're going to end up with nothing?
I just respectfully disagree with Bernie. I've never seen us in legislation. I never thought the purposes of the progress that we make in legislation was basically hold one hostage over the other. You have a bipartisan bill in the most toxic atmosphere that we've ever had politically. The president has pushed on this, and he says, we're going to do this bipartisan. It's in the House right now. We could pass that one, and we can still go on to reconciliation. We can debate it. We can discuss it. We can have hearings on it. Make sure whatever we do it and do it right and don't put more out there that's not needed or basically put ourselves further in debt. We can have those discussions, but why would you hold something that's as needed as this, as far as the hard infrastructure, that's been basically neglected for 30 years and just sit back and say, well, we can't do that. If you don't need bridges fixed or roads fixed in your state, I do in West Virginia. I need internet in West Virginia. I got water and sewage problems. I've got all the problems that we have addressed in the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And that's the one that has the emergency.
So what's your bottom line? How long should the pause last? And what's the most you would accept in a final reconciliation bill?
Chuck, I know that, George, everyone's putting a timetable and putting a hard cap. Shouldn't we, first of all, the reason we're on reconciliation, I voted to go on reconciliation because I believed that the 2017 tax codes were weighted to the high-end wealthy. I believed it was weighted unfairly with the working people. And I thought we needed to make some adjustments. But I'm not going to make adjustments on how much I want to spend. I'm going to make the tax adjustments on what I think keeps us competitive, looking at the global rates, looking at things that we're doing, making sure the wealthy are paying, making sure all corporations are paying something to have the privilege of doing business in America. I think all that needs to be done. And we ought to see what kind of money that spends off and then basically match that up with the highest priorities and needs we have. That's all I've asked for, and we haven't had that honest debate.
Senator Manchin, thanks for your time this morning.
So there you have it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As we heard Senator Joe Manchin say that he believes that right now the priority should be the infrastructure bill for roads, bridges, and highways, which he said has been on the back burner for decades. I think he said 30 years. And he said that we have bipartisan support, Republicans and Democrats. We should pass this through. And he said he doesn't think it's fair for progressives to hold it hostage, that they should just allow infrastructure to go through and then focus on stimulus. And he said that they should hit the pause button on stimulus because he said, what about concerns about the national debt, inflation, increased prices going around everywhere? And he said, we don't need to pour out more stimulus. And a lot of the stimulus that's already been provided, he said, hasn't even gone out yet. And we've seen that with the rental assistance programs. $46 billion was allocated in the last two packages. We've only seen like 11% of that actually go out. So he's saying hit the pause button, stop holding back infrastructure, just let it go through, and then let's discuss a smaller price tag for stimulus. And when he was asked about what should be the price tag, what should be the dates that we have, what should be the time frame, he said, you know what, we just need to pause and wait. And when he was asked about, well, we're hearing that this is paid for. They're saying that they're going to be taxing the rich and taxing corporations to help pay for it. And he said, well, if that's the case, why is there all these borrowings going included in this package as well? So I don't know, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But now let's also hear from Bernie Sanders. Let's hear his rebuttal, his response to this, and hear his stance. And he's pretty much going to be saying pretty much the extreme opposite. Like we said, he's going to be saying more stimulus needs to be the priority and not infrastructure.
I want to bring in Senator Bernie Sanders now. Senator Sanders, thanks for joining us as well. You just heard Senator Manchin right there. He said he just respectfully disagrees. We shouldn't hold this bipartisan infrastructure package hostage to the reconciliation bill.
Well, I think maybe the converse is true, that maybe Senator Manchin is holding the reconciliation bill hostage. As you know, George, from day one, the President of the United States, the Speaker of the House, Majority Leader Schumer, have made it clear we're going down a two-track approach. Both bills are going together. I happen to think that Joe Manchin is right. Physical infrastructure is terribly important. But I happen to think that the needs of the human beings of our country, working families, the children, the elderly, the poor, are even more important. And we can and must do both. Look, everybody in America, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, understands that for the last many years, the very richest people in this country and the largest corporations have done phenomenally well, while the working class and the middle class of this country struggle. And we got close to 600 million people sleeping out on the streets. Elderly people in America can't afford to put dentures into their mouth. They have no teeth in their mouth in some cases, can't afford hearing aids, can't afford eyeglasses. Working families cannot afford childcare for their kids. Young people cannot afford to go to college. And then on top of all of that, the scientific community is telling us that we're looking at a cataclysmic crisis in terms of climate. Oregon is burning. California is burning. People are drowning in New York City. Detroit, flooding. Siberia, largest fire on Earth. Drought all over the world. The United States must lead the world in transforming our energy system away from fossil fuel. This is a crisis. So what polling tells us is working families all over this country understand that now is the time for Congress to address the long neglected problems facing working families. Now is the time to have the wealthy and large corporations. We got billionaires in this country who don't pay a nickel in federal income taxes. So I think we can do all of this. We can do the physical infrastructure. We can do the reconciliation bill, create millions of good jobs, and finally tell the American people that we are going to stand up for working families, not just the rich and the powerful.
I guess the question I have is how? There's no margin for error in the Senate. If you vote against it, it doesn't pass. If Senator Manchin votes against it, it doesn't pass. I mean, so you're likely, if you both stick to your positions, you're going to end up with nothing.
That is a possibility, and I think that would be a disaster for the American people. But you got the President of the United States. You got leadership in the House and the Senate. You got this is not Joe Manchin versus Bernie Sanders. I would surmise that over 90% of Democrats, over 40 Democrats in the Senate, would prefer to spend what I propose, $6 trillion, because they understand the needs facing working families and climate are so great. So a major compromise has already been made. And there is a real danger that this bill will lose, that the infrastructure bill will lose in the House, because you got many people there, and I support them, who are saying, you know what, we had a joint agreement. We're going to go forward together, deal physical infrastructure, deal with the needs of working families. Let's do it. Let's create the jobs. Let's deal with an expansion of Medicare. Let's deal with climate. That's what we've got to do.
But is no bill, let's say, you know, Senator Manchin wouldn't put a timeline on it, but he's come out for about $1.5 trillion in the reconciliation bill. Is no bill better than $1.5 trillion?
Look, what the issue is here is when you have an overwhelming majority of working families in America who want us to do that. When you got the president, when you got over 90% of the people in the House, over 90% of the senators want to do it. The real question you should be asking is it appropriate for one person to destroy two pieces of legislation? Look, Joe Manchin has the right to get his views heard. He's a member of the United States Senate from the great state of West Virginia. He has to sit down with all of us and we'll work it out. Now, we did, as you know, we had the same exact problem in the American Rescue Plan, which to my mind was enormously successful in getting us out of the economic recession that took place as a result of COVID. And Joe Manchin and others are going to have, the Republicans are going to have to say, well, why are we not extending this $300 direct payment that working parents are now receiving? Do we want to really rescind that when we have cut childhood poverty by half? So I don't think that Joe wants to do that. I think we're going to work it out. But it would really be a terrible, terrible shame for the American people if both bills went down. And that is a real danger.
So bottom line, there is going to be a deal. Both bills are going to pass?
I believe they will, yes. I think we had the same problem with the American Rescue Plan. We worked together. We did it. I think we're going to do it again.
Senator Sanders, thanks for your time this morning.
So there you have it, Senator Bernie Sanders and his rebuttal to Senator Joe Manchin. And we heard him say, you know what? I am not holding the infrastructure bill hostage. Senator Joe Manchin is holding the stimulus bill hostage. And he said right now the priority should be getting money for people. And he said included in this bill is going to be provisions to help with all these climate issues. This is going to be providing stimulus to help support that so we can stop the fires, stop the flooding, help the climate. He also said money for families, get those stimulus checks out, and a ton of provisions to help people in human infrastructure. And he also said, you know what? I believe we're going to come to an agreement, and I don't think it's fair that one person should be stopping this. And when he was asked, is this all going to fall apart, or will we reach an agreement and get both bills passed? He said, I believe we'll get this done. So you guys, we will see. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and we're likely going to be hearing a whole lot more on this today, as I mentioned, President Joe Biden, he's going to be meeting with Senator Joe Manchin to get him on board with this $3.5 trillion stimulus bill, the second portion of the infrastructure package, you guys. So, as always, though, thank you so much for joining me here on the channel. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget, smash that like button. Just takes a second. Really helps me out a ton. I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments down below. Share this out. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. Turn on that notification bell. Come join the Ram fam, you guys. Come be a part of the viewing community. I'll keep you up to date. And if you got any specific questions for me, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3. And remember, regular uploads 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday, and also random uploads throughout the day and weekends occasionally as news breaks, you guys. But with that being said, hope this reaches you well. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.